All righty, everybody. It is 1 o'clock here on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. My name is Harold Dippman. I am going to be going through the Northern Michigan Weather Briefing webinar here, courtesy of the National Weather Service up here in Gaylord. Thank you for attending, and let's just get right to it. There's a lot to get to. First, we're going to start off, though, with a my clicker's not working here. We are going to start with a review of recent events here. So the last 7 days, we have had, relatively colder air, and we've had a couple of systems pass through the area. The most predominant region that has seen the most precipitation has been, that central Minnesota into north central Wisconsin, into the highlands, into across central northern lower Michigan. That includes those who haven't really been getting into the snow action as much over there toward Lake Huron. As you can see where the accumulated snowfall is, there's that general bullseye that goes roughly from north of Minneapolis, St. Paul, east into the Wisconsin highlands, and right through our neck of the woods here, just south of Gaylord, down toward Manistee, Houghton Lake, even into like Aranac and Iosco counties have been getting in on the action, along with some lake effect snow across eastern upper Michigan. And as far as that goes from average, it's actually been snowier than normal for our part of the world in those areas that don't usually cash in with the lake effect. And I know it's been a little bit of a rarity this year. So a little bit of a change from the status quo that has been so dominant this winter, where all those lake effect belts have really been the ones that have been cashing in, Gaylord, Traverse City, and up toward like Paradise and those areas. And the eastern UP still did well with its lake effect snow, but it has become more widespread, and we do expect that trend to continue as we go through the next week. So looking at our seasonal snowfall so far, as you can see, Sault Ste. Marie and Gaylord have already observed more snow than what they normally have in an entire winter season, which it's February 11th. And as we all know, a lot of places up here still get quite a bit of snow into March and April. So we've got a ways to go. And as you can see, the spots that are not above normal in snowfall this year are West Branch and Alpena. Again, those areas that really haven't been able to cash in on a lot of the snow this year because it's been so dominant with lake effect. But like I said, we are expecting that change did occur where it was more synoptically or widespread system driven snow, and we do expect that trend to continue into this week. And as far as our Great Lakes ice cover goes, just touching base on that, as you can see, Lake Erie has frozen solid. It is the shallowest of the lakes, so that's pretty status quo, although we are seeing some pretty notable increases on Lake Huron, particularly Saginaw Bay, up to Thunder Bay there. And in addition, the Straits are seeing their ice cover increase as well, westward toward Beaver Island, and also Whitefish Bay as well. And another thing to point out here is that Green Bay has also pretty much frozen over as well, and that could be something that comes into play for lake effect snow and across the interior northern lower Michigan area, along with the Straits being iced up a bit. That's also going to come into play. And with Whitefish Bay freezing up, that could have some implications on Sault Ste. Marie as well. As we all know, the lakes are not as efficient in producing their moisture to really give that lake effect, that spark plug it needs to really fire off and produce those efficient snows like we've seen in the past. So it's not to say that lake effect snow is not going to happen. As you can see, we've got plenty of open water on Lake Michigan, south and west of Beaver Island. It's just going to be pending on where your wind direction comes from. If you get more of a northwest wind, your lake effect might be a little bit more muted than it has been in the past, given that we do have that ice cover over northern Lake Michigan. And as you can see in the last week, we've had our ice tick back up in coverage as well. That's supported by these charts over here. We didn't have that, we did have where the ice cover did decrease in going into February due to a string of milder days at the end of January and some windier conditions. But with the cold that has returned, we've definitely seen an increase in ice coverage on the Great Lakes. So in general, what are we looking at here over the next 7 days? So today, kind of more of a calmer day in the grand scheme of things, and it's probably the calmest day of the next 7 days. We're kind of in between systems. Yeah, there's still a little bit of lake effect snow going on right now here in cross interior northern lower and the snow belts, but it's really disorganized and kind of light, so little to no impacts today. That changes once we get into tomorrow. The day will start off, with minimal impacts, but we are expecting a system to pass through the area and bring a return of more widespread snow to the region Wednesday afternoon, especially Wednesday evening into early Thursday night. And that will eventually transition to lake effect snow on Thursday. And as far as the system goes, your best potential for 6 inches or more of snow will generally be near the Lake Huron shoreline. And points farther west, while there still will be some accumulating snow, the heaviest snow at this juncture does appear to favor the Lake Huron shoreline, generally speaking, from Alpena down all the way to Saginaw Bay, with heavier snows downstate as well. And with that, we will be contending with low visibility and an increase in winds, so that will also present its own hazards in itself. Blowing and drifting snow certainly on the table. One thing to note is that with these systems, we are expecting them to be cold enough where, freezing rain and mixed precipitation are not expected to be an issue over the next 7 days. And as far as building off of that, we are looking at another system potentially passing through Friday into Saturday. This is definitely going to be all snow. And with temperatures starting to fall as well, we start to look at potential issues with wind chills as we go into the tail end of the upcoming President's Day holiday weekend. And with that, we're talking there's potential for below zero wind chills and even below zero air temperatures overnight as we get into the weekend. And early Wednesday morning, we could see a bit of a chilly stretch tonight as well. As we get in between these systems, we could get pretty chilly as well. So below normal temperatures are going to be the rule over the next 7 days. And going ahead, we're going to jump into what we're looking at for the winter storm here on Wednesday afternoon to Thursday morning. So as we said, the greatest potential for 6 inches or more of snow will be hugging that Lake Huron shoreline, and we will be transitioning to lake effect in the system's wake Thursday afternoon. As far as things go, basically, there's still going to be accumulating snow, like I said, across Northwest Lower. It's just probably not going to be as heavy as what falls to the east toward Lake Huron. You see Alpena, Oscoda, over toward Gladwin. Those are the areas that have those higher probabilities of seeing 6 inches of at least 6 inches of snowfall from this upcoming system Wednesday afternoon into Thursday morning. Breezy winds at times, that can certainly lead to blowing and drifting snow, especially near those shorelines where those winds are a little bit stronger coming off of the lake. Especially over there by Lake Huron. And as far as system snow goes, we're not looking at anything, like a wet, heavy snow. I mean, it's probably going to be more on the drier side. So on that note, we're not looking at too much of an issue with like snow weight weighing down trees and stuff like that. But certainly that lighter and drier consistency of the snow will certainly lead to potential for blowing and drifting. Okay, and just looking at what model guidance has for this system, as you can see, you start Wednesday during the morning, it's clear, and then early in the afternoon, that's when we see that snow really overspread the area, and you can see those darker blues signifying the more the better intensity snowfall is really going to hug Lake Huron. Essentially, draw a line from Cadillac to Sheboygan and go east of there, and that's where your impacts are probably going to markedly increase the farther east you go until you get to Lake Huron, with the greatest impacts probably hugging that corridor, Alpena, Alcona, Iosco, and Aranac counties as well, leaking over into Gladwin and Ogemaw as well. We are expecting the heaviest snow and the strongest winds to occur Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. And this will taper off Thursday morning, and it'll eventually transition to lake effect snow in the snow belts of northwest lower Michigan and eastern upper, as far as that goes. And so while they won't see the heavier end of the system snow, they will cash in with some additional lake effect snow on the backside of the system. So as far as winter impacts and timing with this Wednesday and Thursday system, you can see, like we said, Wednesday starts off pretty doggone quiet across the board. You see that morning commute's pretty unimpacted. We see things starting to build in once you get early into Wednesday afternoon. And by the time you get into late afternoon and in the evening, that is when we are expecting the impacts from this system to peak. And there you see Gladwin and Alpena are also highlighted, to have those elevated impact levels, because that is where that heavier snow is going to be expected. Snowfall rates, as far as that goes, we could get generally 1/2 inch to 1 inch an hour snow. That's definitely going to lead to reduced visibility and accumulations on roads, in some cases pretty quickly. We are expecting snow-covered roads leading to slippery driving conditions. This is going to be pretty widespread. And in general, again, probably favors Lake Huron to Saginaw Bay, with impacts also extending downstate. So if people are going and doing some, longer distance travel across the state, I know we're starting to get into postseason tournaments for high schools and such. This could be something to be impactful to travel in regard to events like that as we progress into this system here. As far as temperatures go, like we said, definitely below normal is what we are anticipating. The warmest day out of the next 7 days, it looks like it's going to be Saturday, with that system moving in for the weekend, that we'll talk about a little bit later. But I mean, overall, you don't see a lot of warmth. And when your warmest day is, looks like Manistee, 30 degrees there on Saturday, is about as warm as you're going to get over a 7-day stretch. I mean, it's going to be some tough sledding ahead, with, effectiveness of salt and road treatment and such, especially when you're talking about temperatures dipping into the low teens and below. And as you go into next week, in the wake of that system that does pass through this weekend, I mean, look at those temperatures. There's a lot of single digits, and even some periods of time where we're going to be below zero. So we're definitely in it here for the long haul, with some pretty persistent colder weather. And that's definitely going to be something to consider as we maneuver through that as well. In terms of wind, as you can see, we're not expecting too much in the way of winds today. Everything's going to calm a little bit here as we get into tonight. That's going to be allowing for those temperatures to probably dip pretty quickly this evening, especially in areas where we can get some clearing skies. But as you can see, as that system moves in on Wednesday, you can see the winds uptick a little bit, and they're primarily out of the east to start, east-northeast, as well, as we go into the overnight hours. And then once that system clears out as we go into Thursday, we're still expecting a little bit of a breezier regime to be in place, but those winds are going to flip more northwesterly to even westerly by Thursday evening. And that's what is going to drive that lake effect snow once that wind flips and comes off of Lake Michigan and that colder air surges in on the backside of the system. As far as wind gusts go, not anything extreme, but when we're talking about, falling snowfall and widespread snow, 30-mile-an-hour gusts are going to be plenty enough to blow that snow around on area roads, especially if you get into open areas where, blowing and drifting are problems. And with the 6 to 10 day outlook, as we look into next week as well, I mean, the general theme of this is going to be cold. Once we get that system that comes in this weekend and brings about another round of snow to the region, it's just going to trend pretty doggone cold. And as far as precipitation goes, we are expecting the jet stream to kind of be a little bit more active along the Atlantic coast. And as such, Climate Prediction Center has highlighted basically the eastern quarter of the continental United States, from Maine all the way west to almost Metro Detroit there, down toward Indianapolis. And those areas seem like that's going to be where the active storm track is. Whereas this week, it's basically our neck of the woods that's in the proverbial fire brigade of systems that are expected to go through. But as far as a warm-up goes, we're going to have to be a little bit patient as this colder core of Arctic air kind of settles in as we get into next week. And that was evidenced by those temperatures that we were showing earlier in the single digits and dipping below zero at times. And if we even get a day where we get to clear skies, we're getting into the time of year, the Great Lakes are freezing and they're not offering a whole heck of a lot of help, with keeping the air masses moderated. I mean, it's possible, we could see days or evenings and nights where temperatures just quickly plummet, and it's not just single digits below zero. We might be trending into double digits below zero, but everything's got to come together pretty perfectly for that. And we're still a bit too far out, but that is in the realm of possibility at this juncture. So the key messages for the next 7 days: we've got the system that's going to bring the accumulating snow to the region Wednesday afternoon, and it's going to last through early Thursday morning. So the steadiest and most heavy snow is probably going to taper off early Thursday morning. There'll be a little bit of that transition period Thursday morning into the afternoon as we transition to lake effect snow. And again, your best potential for 6 inches or more of snow will be closer to Saginaw Bay and the Lake Huron shoreline. And then we transition with the lake effect into Thursday evening, into Thursday night. That's going to be primarily in those northwest flow snow belts of northwest lower Michigan and eastern upper. So, we talk about Antrim County, Kalkaska County, Otsego County, Charlevoix County, down to Grand Traverse Bay and south. All those areas that may not see as much from that system will definitely be able to cash in on some return lake effect snow Thursday night. And again, we're watching another system later Friday into Saturday with the potential for more accumulating snow. And that's what's going to be the drawing factor for this colder air mass as it ushers an Arctic front over the Great Lakes. It's going to become markedly colder. Like we were saying, highs potentially single digits, low teens, overnight lows, lower single digits, and potentially even below zero. And along with that, the pressure gradient in the wake of that cold front is going to allow for pretty breezy conditions to linger with that cold air mass. So not only are we looking at the potential for blowing snow and drifting snow issues, there is potential for some pretty bitter cold wind chills. Obviously, as those details become ironed out, we'll have more information on you, for more information for you, rather. And until then, we're just at the stage where, it's going to get cold. How cold, we're not entirely sure yet, but it's going to get cold. And here's some additional information that you can go to for resources as well. You can find those on the slide copy. And that is going to do it for me today. If you have any questions, I'll take this time to take questions from all of you right now. And if you don't have any questions, have a great rest of your Tuesday and stay safe out there as we navigate this active stretch of winter weather here in northern Michigan.